Welcome back, Rice-Eccles Stadium. Number 3 TCU, number 5 Utah, and quickly becoming one of the premier rivalries in college football.
Johnson has a football. Looks left side. Pass.
Not a better setting, not better fans in the country, not a better college football atmosphere. This is what college football is about.
Wynn looks right, flipped it, picked off by Carter. 10, 5, touchdown TCU.
If you think for 1 minute that this is a school that couldn't compete with the big boys, you'd be sadly mistaken.
The last few years have been unbelievable ball games, and so I don't see this ball game this year being any different.
If you want to make some noise on the national level, then you got to play those type of teams.
The stage is set. This game is about 2 teams, 2 coaches, 2 leaders. It's time to play. And on the field, TCU, winners of 22 straight regular season games, 9 in a row on the road. TCU 9-0. They beat UNLV last week 48-6, and the Horned Frogs are ready to go. And the Runnin' Utes of Utah, 21 straight wins on their home field in Salt Lake City. Let's go back to the field. Brooks with Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham.
Thanks, Greg. Coach, TCU relies very heavily on their running game. How are you looking to stop them defensively on the ground?
Well, we've got to be gap sound up front. We've got to play with great technique. And that really is, you're right, that's what makes them go is the run game. They're averaging over 270 yards a week rushing, leading the conference in yards per carry. And that is something that we've got to try to slow down.
Coach, yesterday you told me Jordan Wynn just light years ahead of where he was last year in this game. What are you asking of him today?
He's got to run the offense to full capacity. He'll have everything at his disposal. We were a little bit conservative last week against Air Force. This week that won't be the case. We're opening it wide up.
Thanks, Coach. Greg, back to you.
What a week of anticipation it has been. Everyone in black. It's a blackout kind of day for Utah and TCU. The winner of this game stays undefeated and grabs an even stronger hold on a major BCS postseason bowl game. Not a seat to be had, 2 undefeateds, number 3 against number 5. And Aaron, let's take a look at today's Scion key matchup.
Well, there's a ton of them in this ball game, Craig, but TCU has the edge on Utah in total turnovers, but Utah's coming off a game against Air Force where they forced 5. Protecting the football will be critical. Also, controlling the line of scrimmage. Both of these offenses start with the run, and they can't afford to become one-dimensional. And finally, that 3rd down success. With as good as these defenses are, the best defense today may be a good offense.
So the scene is set, a terrific November afternoon. In fact, feels like September in Salt Lake City. College football on the CBS College Sports Network is brought to you in crystal clear, high definition. Utah 8-0 last week. They knocked off Air Force 28-23. The Falcons 5 turnovers in a game that was closer than it should have been. And as I mentioned, TCU, big win over UNLV last week, 48-6. Number 1 scoring defense in the country, the Horned Frogs. Utah won the toss. They deferred, so TCU will have the football to start this game. And Jeremy Curley, we will be expecting big things from Curley, big things from Utah punt and kick returner Shaky Smithson as well.
There's no question, Craig, in a game of this magnitude, the 3rd phase often rears its head. Special teams and field position will play a critical role into the team that wins.
And we're underway. Nick Marsh with a good kick. Curley, no return, 9 yards deep. He'll take a knee. So how do you keep Curley from hurting you? You can't let him run it out of the end zone.
Well, that's a great job by Utah starting off the bat. We're exactly where you want to do. Make TCU's offense as balanced as it is. Drive the length of the field.
Time for the Quarterback profile brought to you by Burger King.
Well, Andy Dalton's the active wins leader and quarterbacks in the country right now with 38. He's very mobile, can extend plays with his feet, but like any great leader, he needs to put those around him in position to succeed.
TCU, like Utah, will spread the field as Dalton, the senior, is checking at the line. Ed Weasley, the tailback, lined alongside Dalton in the shotgun. Play action pass, they throw near sideline in the seam, and the ball is taken by Curley. His 36th reception of the season and a pickup of 9. And Derek Shelby, the left end for Utah, with the tackle. And Aaron, time to look now at our Geico difference makers.
Well, running back Ed Wesley loves the game of football, and when he averages 6.8 yards per carry, he loves to break the will of defenses. But Chaz Walker's your typical middle linebacker. Tough, accountable, and a great nose for the football.
This time a 2 wide receiver set on 2nd down and short. Handoff. And Wesley up to the 31-yard line. Chaz Walker, we'll call his name many times today. Walker with 61 tackles to lead this fine Utah defense, the junior out of Farmington, Utah.
We're going to call on this young man a lot today. TCU, as we talked about at the top of the game, is a run-first offense. Controlling and the line of scrimmage and sustaining drives for both these offenses is going to be imperative.
You look at the lineups at the top of your screen. Wesley again alongside Dalton. They move the chains at the 31-yard line. Dalton stands up in that pocket, 5-step drop, fires the strike, and sliding in safe is Sky Dawson at the 44-yard line, a pickup of 24 yards.
Well, Sky Dawson's one of the speediest players on the team, but look at Andy Dalton eating sandwiches back there. If that offensive line can hold out that number 6 ranked Utah defense that has 23 sacks on the year, they're going to be in for a big afternoon.
Now that left tackle, Marcus Cannon, goes 6'6", 350 and protects his left side. 2-back set with Wesley and Tucker. They give the ball to number 34, who is tackled down maybe a yard. And again, Shelby in on the tackle, number 90. See, junior out of Houston, Texas.
Well, Utah's defense is only allowing 2.9 yards per rush, and we see why. They do a good job of holding the point. That defensive line are block eaters. They eat up that big offensive line of TCU and let their linebackers run around and make plays like we saw in that last one.
Tuione, Salinga, Kruger, Christian Cox. And the linebackers are quick with Walker and Martinez. 2nd down. And 7. Weasley. Wesley, that is, runs past the 36-yard line. Christian Cox out of Bountiful, Utah. Luke Shivers with a nice block to spring him.
Shivers is their big fullback. Doesn't touch the ball much, but when he does, he's a scoring machine. He makes his bread and butter creating blocks like he did on that last play.
TCU is going to go double tight end with Flosh and Brock, and this will be the 6th play of this drive. They send the fullback top of your screen, and now Dalton, as he will all day, will change it up. Gary Patterson gives him the freedom to do that. On 3rd down and short, Wesley, little pause, and that small hesitation allowed the hole to open, and the Horned Frogs move it to the 29-yard line. Matt Martinez in on the stop, the roverback. Also Taplin Ross, Justin Taplin Ross, the free safety.
Well, Craig, this is the benefit of having a 4-year senior at quarterback and having that experience. It was a big 3rd down, the hostile environment going, the student section. He was able to check the play and move the chains, converting the 3rd down. That's how Andy Dalton manages the game. He's one of the best in the country.
Boy, the backfield's empty. 5 wide receivers set on 1st down, just inside the 29. They try to hit the hot slant. They do. Curley so dangerous in the open field, and he's inside the 25-yard line. Again, Shelby, number 90, the left end in on the tackle.
Well, Utah sees this play every day in practice. They're kind of useful, but watch Curley right there making people miss. Tackling and making sure you wrap up ball carries is going to play a crucial role in Utah's offense or defense to be able to stop the Horned Frogs.
Well, he's past the 100 mark in career receptions, came in with 99 and now with 101. Curley with 7 receptions for touchdowns on the season, and TCU moving the ball on the first series of this game. 2nd down, 24-yard line. Dalton shotgun, ball's down, But Dalton able to quickly jump on it, lost a yard, back to the 26-yard line. Oh boy, turnovers will be a key. You cannot let one go in a game of this magnitude.
Well, we talked about it at the top of the show. In a game like this, things get magnified. You have to be able to protect the football. Last week against UNLV, TCU put the ball on the ground 3 times and lost 2 of them. Andy Dalton last week put it on the carpet but recovered his own. The Horned Frogs can't give Utah any extra chances.
Wesley Tucker in the backfield. Wesley goes in motion on 3rd down. There's a pump. Got single coverage going up top. Touchdown, TCU! Josh Boyce from 26 yards out.
Well, Josh Boyce has been a breath of fresh air. He's really been coming on. He's locked in one-on-one coverage with a great defender for TCU, or excuse me, for Utah, beating man coverage with the double pump, setting up the fake for the first touchdown of the game.
Ross Evans with the PAT and splits the upright. So an impressive opening drive by the Horned Frogs. Dalton was 4 for 4 on that series, 64 yards and a touchdown to Boyce. Sellout crowd, Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, and TCU has quieted the sellout crowd. And for the 3rd straight game, TCU scores on their opening drive for a touchdown. Impressive. Dalton was perfect through the air, 4 for 4, and finished things off with a touchdown to Josh Boyce, 26 yards. That was Shaky Smithson, 3-time Mountain West Conference Special Teams Player of the Week. I mean, this guy is dynamite. Leads the NCAA in punt returns, over 23 yards. He goes 24 and change in kickoff returns. Kick is away. Reggie Dunn 2 yards deep. He's at the 10. Dunn with room. Stacked up, dropped at the 21-yard line.
We're going back to this touchdown, Craig. This gets set up by Andy Dalton, doing a great job with a double pump right there. Josh Boyce is able to beat one-on-one coverage by backup cornerback Conroy Black. That's a great job by Justin Fuente and Jarrett Anderson, the offensive coordinator, creating the matchups that they wanted.
Aaron, a look at the quarterback profile for Utah, brought to you by Burger King.
Well, Jordan Wynn got thrown to the wolves, but has recovered very nicely. He's accurate, particularly in the underneath the short to medium routes. And he's got a leadership aura about him. He has to play within himself and not press today against a very good TCU defense.
Kyle Whittingham told us we're going to open up our offense. And they open up with a 5 wide receiver set. Shotgun Wynn over the top and nearly intercepted, deflected by the middle linebacker, Tanner Brock.
Tanner Brock so active at that Mike linebacker position. TCU runs a lot of quarters coverage, so it puts the pressure of the underneath routes, which Utah likes to run, squarely on the shoulders of the linebackers. Great read by the Mike backer there.
And you remember what happened last year in Fort Worth. It was a shaky start for Utah with Jordan Wynn at the helm. Eddie Wide now in the backfield with Wynn on 2nd down and 10. Utes will go to the ground. Nice hole off the right side, and Eddie Wide picks up 5, maybe 6. Time for our Geico difference makers.
Well, what Jeremy Brooks lacks in height, he's more than makes up for in his explosiveness. He's Jordan Wynn's favorite target. And for TCU, safety Colin Jones worked his way back into the starting lineup and is a physical force versus the run, but can cover like a cornerback.
Now Utah faced with 3rd down and 4. Offense is not a problem for the Utes. They average 45 points a ball game. Very balanced on the run and pass. Wynn shotgun, low snap, pressure from the edge. Throws, has a man in the flat to the 41-yard line. Devontae Christopher, Jason Teague with the tackle, 15-yard pickup. Move the change, and it's good if you're a Ute fan to have Christopher back, who was out last week with a knee injury.
Yeah, they're just running pick routes, running crossing routes. Christopher's a big addition to this offense, and now Utah running the hurry up to try and keep TCU off balance.
4 wide outs. They fake inside. On the run is Wynn, directing traffic. And here's a young man learning as he goes along and throws it away. Lapunga bringing heat on Jordan Wynn, number 90, the left end for TCU. You live to play another day. That's the lesson.
That's a great play if you're Jordan Wynn today. Stanley Maponga really coming on. He's the #1 tackler on the defensive line this year. Wayne Daniels, his counterpart, number 96, leads the Mountain West with 5.5 sacks, but coaches say that Maponga has a huge upside, and they're very excited about this young man, as we could see what he did on that last one.
Now, he's put 30 pounds on since arriving at TCU. Now he tips the scales at 260. Out in the flat, little pitch and catch, nothing fancy. And Utah trying to pick up yards, but TCU, they play the lanes. They stay home, and they're able to push back Jeremy Brooks from a big gainer, led by Tank Carter.
Well, part of Utah's balance, Craig, offensively is using passes like a run. They like to throw those bubble screens and those now routes to be able to try and get the football into the hands of their playmakers in space. So it's going to be imperative, like TCU did on that last play, to get out there, swarm the football, and hunt like a pack.
Well, the Utes are 1 for 1 on 3rd down conversions today. They need 10 yards to keep the drive alive, and this is the 6th play. Asiata lined up, bottom of your screen. Again, the 5 wide receivers as Jordan Wynn is all alone in the backfield. Good protection, throws. Going to be short. Did he step out? He did. That's Devontae Christopher out of bounds at midfield, and Tanner Brock pushed him out at the 50-yard line. So that brings up 4th down and call it 2.5.
A great job by Tanner Brock getting out there on the edge. He's playing against a guy, Devontae Christopher, who's been banged up a little bit and wearing a brace on his leg today, but that's a great job of TCU getting themselves off the field and showing you why they're the #1 defense in the country.
Utah will punt for the first time after their first series. Stalls at midfield. Sean Selwood set to punt to Jeremy Curley. And again, no return for Curley. A 50-yard boot, no return. Timeout, TCU up by 7. Back in Salt Lake City, TCU scored on their opening drive. They'll be back on offense. Under Armour Wounded Warrior Project. They teamed up with Utah and were wearing uniforms designed to recognize the sacrifices made by those who serve our nation. Now, the players' names have been replaced today with core value embellishments: duty, honor, courage, commitment, integrity, country, service. And serving as honorary captains today are Adam Mattis, U.S. Army retired; Major Thomas Ted Putnam of the U.S. Army; Terrence Peterson, U.S. Army retired. And on December 8th of '05, their vehicle was struck by an improvised explosive device while on a reconnaissance mission. And the game day uniforms today will be auctioned off to benefit the Wounded Warrior Project. It's a great combination today. That ball was behind the line of scrimmage, and Jeremy Curley could not handle the football, and you lose 5 back to the 15-yard line.
Great heads-up play by Curley, jumping on top of that football, because it was thrown behind the line of scrimmage, and in a backward motion, it makes it basically a lateral, and that's a fumble. So twice now, TCU, as well as they played on that first drive, have put the ball on the carpet. That could come back to bite them later on in this ballgame.
You know, we talked a lot, Aaron, about field position will play a major factor in this game today. And right now, it's 2nd down 15 at the 15-yard line. Wesley, the motion man, number 34. Dalton takes a snap. He'll fire a strike in the flat, and that ball is out. Wesley can't handle the ball. Maybe thrown a little back, a little bit behind him. And that last drive, impressive by TCU.
Well, Dalton, we talked about being a great game manager, getting the ball to Curley, using the pass like a throw. They're really making an effort to get the ball to their playmakers in space, and then the one-on-one coverage. Josh Boyce really been coming on as of late, does a good job beating one-on-one coverage. Very balanced TCU offense, but bringing up a 3rd and 15, which limits your play calling ability.
Yeah, this is really the first test of this game for TCU on their 2nd series. They're 2 for 2 on 3rd down conversions, both on that opening drive. Shotgun is Dalton. Stands, pressure from behind, throws. This time it's caught right on the button. And out of bounds around the 44-yard line, Jimmy Young. I'll tell you, Dalton just showed us he can throw that pass on a rope.
Well, what he did a great job of is stepping up into the pocket and avoiding the rush. A linebacker comes free, but you're right, that ball was on the money, and poor tackling by Utah. We talked about the importance of tackling both of these teams have playmakers, and so far, Utah getting beat a little bit. They're going to have to shore up and stay on their feet and see what they hit and wrap these guys up.
3 wide receivers set up top of your screen. Dalton so far having his way with that secondary of Utah. Flags as they hand it off to Wesley. A referee today for the Mountain West Conference, Land Clark. And so march back 5 yards. It'll be first down and 15.
Nothing worse for an offense, Craig, to have to go up against a blackout in the student section that gets crazy, makes it pretty loud a lot of times for both offensive linemen and the running backs to hear. You have to be able to play focused and not shoot yourselves in the foot, because here again, TCU's looking at first and 15 and working backwards by making mistakes.
First and 15, 40-yard line. Shotgun, Dalton. Wesley alongside. Dalton, good protection again. On a rope, he goes one side to the other. And chopped down to the 50-yard line is Jimmy Young. Conroy Black in on the stop, but boy, he had his legs just taken down. They'll mark him at the 49-yard line.
Yeah, number 2 receiver did a good job of running off both the safety and the corner, and Conroy Black just did a good job of running an out route. And Andy Dalton showing you his accuracy and why on the season he's completing 66% of the balls. 4-year start has been pretty dang on point so far in this ballgame.
How about 38 career wins along the way? Looking for 39 today on the road. Exclusively on the shotgun. They try to pound it right up the middle, and Tucker is knocked down. Brandon Burton was there to fill the hole. And Utah trying to make a stand here on the defensive end at midfield.
Yeah, no question. That was a great job by the defense, bringing a corner fire off the outside edge. A cat or a cowboy, whatever terminology you want to call it. It's when the cornerback blitzes off the edge. They did that as a run blitz to do exactly what they did there, which is bring up a 3rd down and stuff the run.
Utah is yet to stop TCU on 3rd down. The Horned Frogs are 3 for 3. They need 4 yards to keep this drive alive. Dalton, again, the protection has been excellent. This time flushed from the pocket. Dalton has legs, runs, stack. He'll be short of the first down at the 46-yard line. Matt Martinez and Latu Heimuli, the nose tackle who backs up Dave Kruger. Great job spreading the field and running down Dalton.
You're absolutely right, Craig. This is a great job by Kalani Sitake's defense, because Andy Dalton has a tremendous ability to be able to extend plays with his legs. He's beaten a lot of teams that way, creating first downs, but the Utah defense holds, showing you why they're number 6 in the country.
Anson Kelton, we talked to him before the game, Aaron, 6'4", 280-pound punter. He averages just under 42 yards a kick, and Shaky Smithen is back to receive. That is a high hanger, and it's out of bounds around the 15-yard line. So Shaky did not get a chance to get his hands on it. 32-yard punt, no return.
Welcome back to Salt Lake City, where the score is 7-0 TCU. I'm here with Adam Mattis, honorary captain, part of the Wounded Warrior Project, along with Under Armour behind these jerseys. For some that don't know, what exactly is the objective of the Wounded Warrior Project?
So the objective of the Wounded Warrior Project, in a nutshell, is to honor and empower wounded veterans and create the most well-adjusted generation of veterans to date.
Last year, South Carolina and Maryland wore the jerseys. This year, Texas Tech, and of course, Utah. What has the reaction been from the uniforms and the cleats, which are great?
I think it's fantastic. Last year was just kind of the initial testing the waters phase, and I mean, this year, the fact that Under Armour and then Utah and Texas Tech stepped up and they're doing this to support us and to raise awareness is just fantastic.
Well, thank you for your service, and you're quite an inspiration. Craig, I know you're having a tough time. There's no names on the back of the jerseys, but you got to admit they're good looking, aren't they?
Oh, yes, they are. Who needs names when you have courage and honor? By the way, if you want to get involved, you can check out the website. Visit www.underarmour.com. That will help support the Wounded Warrior Project. And by the way, these uniforms will be auctioned off, Aaron, online, and a way to help as well if you'd like to put a bid down on one of these camouflage-like jerseys, and they are good looking. Also, the cleats as well. We've got to get a pair of those.
I tell you what, I have a couple snakeskin shoes in my closet, but none quite that good looking, you know, from my NFL days when I was a rookie.
Second down at the 16-yard line. Horned Frog show blitz. They pull back as Jordan wins. Sets in the pocket, throws. It's pitch and catch. Spinning out of trouble is Brooks. And close to a first down. Tanner Brock just ran for him stride for stride, but a 9-yard pickup for Jeremy Brooks. He's a scatterbug, Aaron. 5'7", 170.
Well, this is what TCU wants to do, is create one-on-one matchups with their most explosive playmaker underneath Jeremy Brooks and get them lined up in man-on-man coverage with Tanner Brock. Brock did a good job reading the first one, but they went back to it, and that's the explosiveness of Utah's offense.
Yeah, the Utes will like to go a little power game here. Third down and short. Asiata in the backfield. He is hit as soon as he touched the football. I'm looking from the spot. From our advantage point, looks like they're going to move the chains. Just enough for the first down, yes. And the drive rolls on at the 26.5-yard line.
Well, that's one of the things that Matt Asiata brings to this team. He's a big back, 230-pound senior, 5'11", so he's like a little pit bull. Anytime he gets hit, he falls forward. Defensive coordinator and head coach Gary Patterson talked about having to wrap him up. Colin Jones got there right when he got the ball, but Asiata used his strength to get the first down.
Utah spreads it with 4 wides. Asiata, the lone back, alongside Jordan Wynn. Low snap, 2-step drop, goes up over the top, middle of the field. I see no flags. Crowd would like to see yellow on the field. It's incomplete. Luke Matthews, who had a 36-yard touchdown last week, incomplete.
Jason Teague, you hear the crowd booing. His arm was there a little bit early. You got to give the young man credit, though. He was running stride for another one of Utah's playmakers. Maybe the officials early on in the ballgame may let these guys play a little bit.
Matthews, a sophomore from Phoenix. 36-yard touchdown strike last week in that win against Air Force. Second down, Utah. From the 26.5-yard line. Wynn. Flushed. He's running the wrong way. This time on his back foot. Throws it to the Utah sideline. Third down for Utah.
Well, Stanley Maponga so far in this ball game is doing a great job of being able to get upfield. You see him here at the top of your screen. He's beating right tackle Tony Bergstrom, who's doing a good job, but he stays active, forces Wynn out of the pocket. On that first drive, Craig, he had 3 tackles and a couple pressures. Right now, we talked about Stanley Maponga, and the coaches liking his upside. TCU defensively is controlling that line of scrimmage so far.
Utah, third down and 10. They're 2 of 3 in third down conversions. And Maponga is causing some problems for Jordan Wynn. Near side, drop, Jeremy Brooks, and bring on the punting unit for Utah.
TCU, one of the best teams in the country, getting themselves off the field on third down, 24% on the year. But man, again, there was pressure by that front 4 of TCU. They don't blitz much, but when they do, it's pretty effective.
And Aaron, TCU ranked #1 in college football defense against the pass, allowing just 119 yards. Jordan Wynn has a tough day ahead.
Got to stay patient in a ball game like this, though.
Selwood, the punt. It's a line drive and a beauty. Curley has no way. He'll fair catch it at the 6-yard line. 67 yards on the punt.
In front of, X amount of people, and, there's emotion in the air and everything that's going on. And I mean, that's why it's such a great game.
Being out there on Saturdays and being in that environment and being around the players and just the competitive atmosphere.
Both those coaches so competitive. Kyle Whittingham, Gary Patterson, both with terrific records at their respected schools. Patterson in his 10th year at TCU, Whittingham in his 6th. How about this? Average yards gained on first down. TCU with a big advantage early.
It's a big reason why they can sustain drives. They've got to get that run game going, though.
Well, they usually pass the ball on first down. Dalton on the rollout, play action, up top. He had man coverage and breaking a tackle of Boyce. He's off and running. 15, 10, 5, touchdown. ...93 yards. and Ute fans are shocked.
Talking with this defensive staff, they said we can't afford to give up the big plays. You're absolutely right. TCU's favorite down to throw is on first down off of that run game, and Brandon Burton, one of the best tacklers in physical lockdown corner that we talked about, got smoked by Josh Boyce, then missed the tackle to give up the touchdown.
Extra point now by Evans. Good snap, good hold. Kick is up and true. Well, this crowd stunned at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Boyce with a pair of touchdowns here in the opening quarter. 1 of 26 yards and 93. He broke that tackle, Aaron, at midfield, headed to the sideline, and had a burst of speed.
Everything you want to be able to do. You see Andy Dalton there, 4-year senior. This is the advantage that you have, to be able to immediately take the crowd out of the game, and it's that experience and leadership the Horned Frogs were going to be counting on, and so far it's been a great job. But how about Josh Boyce? 2 catches so far, 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's an entire game, and we're not even out of the first quarter yet.
So 2:11 to play, opening quarter. Utah has struggled to move the football. They've had trouble containing Josh Boyce. And let's go back and see this tackle. Well, you got to hit him low. You try to put a hog collar on him, and that's not going to pull him down. And then he got in full stride and went 93 yards.
Yeah, you're bad on 2 accounts. You almost get a face mask or a horse collar penalty, grabbing him by the back of the helmet. And then you don't wrap him up, and he takes you deep and puts you down 14-0. This is very similar to what happened last year in Fort Worth, where TCU got up early.
Went on to win that ball game, going away 55-28. There's 25 players on this Ute team that were there a year ago. Shaky Smithson will run it out for the first time. Cuts and is hit hard down at the 21-yard line. So now Utah will have to rally in this one. Points allowed defensively, just over 14. They have given up 14 points with 2:06 remaining in the opening quarter.
Well, this TCU offense is averaging 41 points per game. They're 9th in the country. But Utah, their scoring defense 6th in the country, and it's been because simply of missed tackles. You don't wrap people up, you're going to get yourself hurt. Andy Dalton's been on point, and that sideline for Utah very quiet. They have to stay patient. This ball game's not over.
It is very early. Shotgun on the ground. That's Eddie Wide trying to run wide, and he's knocked down after a pickup of 1 by Carter. Tank Carter. What a football name. Yeah. I'm going to name my son Tank Carter.
Well, his birth name's Ricky, but he was so big as a baby they started calling him Tank. There's a reason why he does a good job of being able to run to the football. The big block eaters up front eat him up. He sees it. He runs underneath the guard, or excuse me, the right tackle, Tony Bergstrom, and does a good job of taking away the power play they've been so successful with.
He really dipped that shoulder. Found a seam and made the stop. 2nd down 9. Jordan Wynn in the pocket. Good protection. Going up top. No one's there. And there's a flag, and the coaches were right on the side judge. I believe it was Brooks, the intended receiver, that was tied up around the 45-yard line.
Yeah, that's going to be on Alex Ibiloye. A lot of contact well after that 5-yard cushion that they have.
And we get the call from the ref, Land Clark, from the Mountain West.
Holding. Defense. 1 yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
See Tanner Brock out there on the edge. Jeremy Curley tries to do the double move right there. Weak safety, Alex Ibiloye. Officials right on top of it.
Well, today's 1st and 10 line is being brought to you by Allstate. Utah with fresh downs at the 31-yard line. Asiata lined up alongside Jordan Wynn. Asiata strips 1 tackler and pushes his way to around the 34. And Corey Grant, the nose tackle, who was all Mountain West a year ago, all 305 pounds, wraps up Asiata.
Yeah, well, Corey Grant was the defensive tackle, but when Kelly Griffin went down against Air Force, they slid over 57 Corey Grant and put at the defensive tackle spot his former backup, number 94, DJ Yendry, and there's been no drop-off. This TCU defense is very well coached, very physical, and showing their depth today as well.
Yeah, it's good to have depth. That's why you're ranked number 3 in the BCS. Wins, steps up, fires. It's off the hands of Asiata. That brings up 3rd down for Utah.
That was just a great job of coverage on both sides of the field. Jordan Wynn had very few options. Puts a little bit of mustard, the ball a little bit above and beyond Matt Asiata. Just great job on the outside. Coverage, no real options to go. Great job by that number 1 pass defense, taking away those options, bringing up 3rd and long.
That was a bird's eye view from up above. Wynn has missed his last 4. And it's a big 3rd down for Utah. Down 14. Jordan steps up in the pocket, has room to run. Watch out, backside. Ball is out! Yendry. DJ Yendry picks up the loose ball, and Jordan Wynn never felt the backside pressure.
As a young quarterback, you got to throw that football. You have to have a clock in your head. Good pressure on the outside. He steps up, but right now, you can't pump fake 2 or 3 times. It has to become the scramble drill. The deep receivers come shallow, the shallow receivers go deep, and everybody in the middle track the quarterback. Throw the football away. We talked about it. You don't have to make the great play, just avoid the bad one. And on that last one, Jordan Wynn got the best of the TCU's defense.
Now Utah is in danger of letting this game slip away. Curley is throwing the football. Touchdown, bag of tricks to Bart Johnson. Curley throws the touchdown, 26 yards. Gary Patterson has shocked this crowd in Utah.
Well, Jeremy Curley, their most explosive playmaker, lines up in the Wild Frog. Something that they ran a little bit last year, haven't shown much of this year, and throw it to a very dependable Bart Johnson, who gets his first catch of the game for the touchdown. Great job. That's Bart Johnson now has a catch in 32 ball games, and TCU getting up very quickly, putting the pressure on Utah.
31 consecutive games with a reception and a touchdown, and trickery by the Horned Frogs. Jeremy Curley and the Wild Frog. He finds Bart Johnson, and it's 20-0 TCU.
Welcome back to Salt Lake City, where TCU is up 20-0. Not surprising. Outside of the TCU locker room at Amon Carter Stadium, there's a sign that reads, "Fight 'em till hell freezes over, then fight 'em on the ice." Coach Dutch Meyer, who won titles in 1935 and 38, crowned the phrase, "Well, someone wanted TCU to feel at home because they wrote it on a dry erase board right outside their locker room here." Seems to be working, guys, commanding 20-0 lead.
All right, Brooke, I think everyone in the house here at Rice Eccles stunned, silence. This is a blackout game, Aaron, and very little cheering thus far here in Salt Lake for the running Utes. Sharples has it teed up at the 30-yard line. Reggie Dunn and Shaky Smithson are set to receive. Shaky has it, 2-yard line. Shakes out of one tackler, but boy, TCU jumps on him like a frog. Bottom line, they are all over the field at the 22-yard line. How about Curley, his career? Well, the Wild Frog works because he's had great success, a couple of touchdowns, Aaron, along the way.
I'll tell you what, you talk about having depth on a team. How about when your leading wide receiver can also throw the football? That just speaks to the athleticism and the great play calling of this TCU defense, as you see Dick Bumpus and Gary Patterson comparing notes, because they know exactly how explosive Utah is, and they can't afford to let them get back at the game and home.
Well, Utah's got to answer back. We're running down the final seconds here of the opening quarter. 19 ticks on the clock. Wynn sets up and throws in traffic, threads the needle, and a pickup of maybe 8-9 to Devontae Christopher at the 32-yard line. He'll be short. Nope, he's going to have a first down. They gave him a good mark, so a pickup of nearly 11 yards.
Here's that Utah up-tempo, trying to get something going, almost going into 2-minute mode to try and get some momentum.
Handoff, nothing going for Eddie Wide, who's knocked down by Mopanga. Mopanga has had an impressive opening quarter. And we played 15 minutes here in Salt Lake City, a quarter dominated by TCU. The combination of Andy Dalton and Josh Boyce have produced 2 touchdowns and a 20-point lead. Back in Salt Lake City, TCU, 3rd ranked in the VCS polls, 20 unanswered points in that opening quarter. And Aaron, I think the quarterback numbers explain why. Dalton dynamite, nearly 200 yards passing, a couple of touchdowns, both to Josh Boyce and Jordan Wynn, unable to get started, pressure, and also lost a fumble.
Yeah, you got to be able to manage the ball game for this true sophomore.
Wooden sling shots it to the near sideline. Out of a tackle goes Shaky Smithson, and maybe now the Utes will get something shaken. And that's Colin Jones, a strong safety. A 50-year senior makes a stop after a pickup of about 7.
Shaky Smithson, such an explosive playmaker. The defense for TCU was worried about that exact type of thing happening where they miss a tackle on him, because Utah excels not at throwing the ball very deep down the field, but throwing those short and intermediate crossing routes and running after the catch.
3rd down, 3 for Utah.
Keep your eye on Stanley Mopanga.
Shotgun, hot slant, had it, dropped it. Utah gave away a 1st down to Devontae Christopher, the sure-handed wideout out of Las Vegas, who did not play last week because of a knee. Lost that ball, and it's going to be 4th down.
Well, a lot of times when a player hasn't played in live games a little bit and you have an injury, you tend to play a little bit tentative. Devontae Christopher, usually pretty sure-handed, needed to be able to hold on to that one to convert. And here again, Utah's forced to punt.
Selwood will punt away to Curley. High hanger, fair catch at the 31-yard line. And Aaron, how about a look at today's Polaris razor-sharp performance?
Well, Andy Dalton's been on fire, finding Josh Boyce with a double pump, beating man coverage, and then throwing on the run. Does such a good job of putting the ball where it needs to be. This tackle by the sure-handed Brandon Burton, and then Jeremy Curley finding Bart Johnson out of the Wild Frog to put them up by 3 scores very early on in this ball game. Utah is shocked right now as their defense tries to get the ball back.
How about that? Average yards on 1st down. That 93-yard touchdown skews that a bit, but they continue to pass. Curley is chased out of bounds, and they will mark Curley at the 42-yard line. Lamar Chapman was able to chase him out. But it's those 1st downs. That's been the key to success for TCU, Aaron, in the first half of play. They attack, pick up big yards, and you feel Utah is just on the back of their heels.
That's exactly what it is they want to do, is keep them off balance, keep Utah guessing, and do a good job of mixing run and pass. And so far, they are exploiting Utah on the edges with their speed.
Today's 1st and 10 line brought to you by Allstate. And plenty of 1st downs for TCU. To the ground, little cut, Wesley. He found a seam, cut it back across the grain, and they'll mark him down at the 49. Martinez was there, the rover, and got helped by Chaz Walker.
Well, that offensive line, Craig, of TCU is so physical. Watch these big boys up here as Tucker's going to get the ball and use his eyes and patience. One of the things he does, he sees what's going to happen, then cuts back behind left guard Kyle Dooley, who's back from an injury, does a good job of holding the point and creating the rush lane.
Well, they stacked 4 wideouts to the near side. Quick throw right on the hands, Wesley. They put him into man-to-man opportunity, and he's out at the 45-yard line. Brandon Burton with the tackle. So you've got some impressive offensive weapons at TCU. Curley, Wesley's able to make a cut on a dime.
And great blocking out on the edge. Look at Jimmy Young there throwing the cutback on true freshman Brian Blecken that we talked about at the beginning of the ball game. When you got that much athleticism and receivers that are unselfish and willing to block, you got something going offensively.
Play action passes. Dalton rolls to his right. Throws, fires, connects. And unable to jump out of a tackle is Bart Johnson. Lamar Chapman, good shoe top tackle. Johnson had that touchdown to make it 20-0 after the missed extra point, and the clock rolls up on 12 minutes.
Yeah, one of the things I've been really impressed with about Andy Dalton is his ability to be able to throw on the run. A very underappreciated rusher. He sustains drives, he extends plays, and makes very good decisions when outside the pocket.
And he's got a good set of feet. The guy can run, averages over 6 yards a carry. Second down short, shotgun. Little option read, and this time Tucker runs it right up the gut of Utah to the 31-yard line. Gary Patterson, Aaron, impressive. They are mixing everything offensively they can think of.
Utah is completely off balance. You got to remember, this was the 6th ranked defense in the country coming into the ball game, but controlling the line of scrimmage. Look at the domination up front. All of the white jerseys and purple helmets covering up that very physical and talented Utah front seven. TCU on both sides of the football is controlling the line of scrimmage. And it's a big reason why they're up by 3 scores.
Matthew Tucker lines up behind Dalton on 1st and 10. On a string, right on the hands of Boyce. And Chapman again in on the stop. Well, you knew Utah, and they like to play man coverage. You know, they stopped the run first. Kalani Sitake told us straight up that's the way Kyle Whittingham wants it done. That's what he does defensively. It puts a lot of pressure on those cover corners.
No question. And another thing that puts pressure is how balanced they are. 10 runs, 13 passes, and they're having success as they run the stack up at the top of the
7th play of this drive. They throw it outside, another missed tackle. Curley, little stutter step, and he's out of bounds at the 15-yard line. Chaz Walker ran him out, and so far, Utah, no answers.
There's no question that they're off balance right now. It's gut check time for Utah. Coming into this game, number 5 in the country, Kalani Sitake. We talked to him yesterday in the meetings. They were very much looking forward to this ball game. They were confident about their athletes and their athleticism and the guys that they had to be able to match up with TCU. But so far, as good as this unit's been all year, TCU's getting the better of it.
Dalton has been near perfect in this first half. Really 10 minutes to play, second quarter. Dalton on the run. Is he going to pitch? No, he tucks and runs. And the 6'3", 220-pound senior rumbles down to the 12-yard line. Blecken gave him a good pop. Caught him around the ankles.
That's a zone read play that TCU will go to depending on their opponent 3, 4, 5, 6 times a game. You don't want to run it too much with your quarterback, but they have some nice change-ups off that, and oftentimes will get to a reverse and run some play action and create some more opportunities throwing the football.
Wesley lines up, now goes in motion, stands alongside Dalton on 2nd down and 6. Dalton switching it up at the line. Keeper, pitch, cut back, spin out, and inside the 10 to the 6-yard line.
Dalton saw something that he liked on that last play, and that was that there was no support out there. Evan Frosch, number 84, the tight end, was man-on-man with the cornerback and did a good job of blocking. But this defense of Utah has to find a way to be able to hold here in the red zone.
Now today's red zone is being brought to you by Verizon. Knocking on the door again is TCU. They have a chance to blow this game wide open. They are 3 for 4 on 3rd down conversions, and the Horned Frogs need 2. And again, you see Dalton with the audible. He'll go back under center, lone back Wesley. Utah stands and pushes the tailback for about a yard loss to the 7, maybe the 8-yard line. And that surge was led by Christian Cox.
Well, Christian Cox is that senior leader for them, does a great job of being able to make plays. That was the 3rd time in this game that Andy Dalton checked out to something that he liked, but Utah's defense held. And that's a very important play for them from a confidence standpoint as they sit here and attempt a field goal. You have to be able to have a point in a game where you can build on something positively. And remember, Tavita Finau, number 97, has done a good job so far getting upfield.
This will be a 24-yard kick. A chip shot is up and good. He's perfect, 7 for 7 on the year. In a way, a victory for Utah. They hold TCU to a field goal. We'll be back. High above Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, TCU 23-0 over Utah. Kyle Whittingham is wearing a hole in that carpet. And Gary Patterson of TCU, never satisfied, but on the road, you have to be very excited with a 23-point lead. Troubles for Utah, a lot of miscues.
Yeah, it started early on with drop balls and then ball security with that defensive line. Wayne Daniels getting there, and then missed tackles by Brandon Burton. It's almost as if Utah's best players are making mistakes, and that's not the way you're going to be able to win any ball game, let alone one of the best in the country.
Kevin Sharples will kick away from the 30-yard line. Reggie Dunn, Shaky Smithy, set to receive. Dunn, get on it, and he does, and takes a knee. So 20-yard line is where Utah will start this drive, down by 23. And let's go downstairs, and here's Brooke.
Craig, TCU's game last weekend was a late one in Las Vegas, and they did something out of the ordinary. They always fly back right after their game so they can be prepared for Sunday practice, but Coach Patterson decided the team would stay the night in Hendersonville. Made sure they were in bed by 12, though. They woke early in the morning, flew back to Fort Worth. Coach said it was a great move. So far, the best Sunday practice they've had all year.
In bed by, you said, noon or 12?
It's Vegas. You never know.
You never know. Utah back on offense at the 20-yard line. Quick throw, far side, and boy, the ball just not being able to catch so far. And Jeremy Brooks got a couple of sure-handed wide receivers on this Utah team, and Wynn has been unable to hook up.
Well, the bottom line is, regardless of what's at stake in any ball game, it comes down to execution. And the bottom line is that same exact play we've seen TCU run several times in this ball game. The bottom line is they're merely simply executing much better than Utah right now.
That brings up 2nd down and 10. On the flip side, TCU is picking up big yards on that first down throw. Wynn in the pocket, slingshots a hot slant right on the button. First down, and finally Devontae Christopher finds the connection with Jordan Wynn. A pickup of 11 yards and a first down Utah. Greg McCoy made the tackle. He's got great speed, this kid. McCoy at 4.3 in the 40. Well, the pads are popping. Matt Asiata. Adam, here it's 23-0. We'll keep a line or keep a look at that game all day long. Highest ranked #1 loss team in college football. Why not? It's Nick Saban in Alabama. Wynn steps up, throws. Oh, that ball dangerously hung out on a string to Asiata and Colin Jones. It's like going to the dinner table.
He looked like Colin Jones was salivating as that play was going. Anytime you bobble the ball over the middle, you can expect to get hit. Matt Asiata does a good job of trying to hang on to it, but Colin Jones, who had a big pick 6 last week against UNLV, comes up with another big hit, bringing up again a 3rd and long, the situation that Utah's been trying to avoid.
He's a former running back turned strong safety, so Jones now knows how to take a hit and give one out. Another 3rd down for Utah. They're 2 of 6 here in the first half. Wynn flush from the pocket and throws up and over Asiata. Crowd's getting restless, and you hear the boo birds coming out. Wayne Daniels bringing pressure off the right side.
Well, that was just simply a 4-man rush, and shows you how good athletically these boys are up front. As you see Jordan Wynn, because of the pressure on the move, not being able to connect again with Matt Asiata. We saw earlier in the ball game how good of a job Andy Dalton does doing that. Again, execution. TCU's executing, Utah's not.
This will be the 4th punt off the foot of Sean Selwood inside his own 20-yard line, and Curley awaits. Punts away. Good high hanger, turns it over. Curley pedals back. 18-yard line, makes a stutter step move, breaks a tackle, but he's taken down at the 24. A 48-yard boot, a 2-yard return. 6 minutes to play, first half. Highly anticipated matchup, standing room only at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake, and Aaron, time for the icy hot quarterback hot zone.
Andy Dalton has been on fire today, throwing the ball very accurately, making great reads, being patient, even though he took a hit on that last one, finding Josh Boyce beating man-to-man coverage and showing you his mobility, being able to throw the football on the run. TCU's best players are dominating this Utah defense, which is usually so good as you look at Dalton's numbers.
They stack double wide both sides of the field. Wayman James, a redshirt freshman from Sherman, Texas, on the field. And James, maybe 2 to the 25, and Chaz Walker in on another tackle. Junior out of Farmington, Utah. A lot of Utah talent on this Utah football team. And Walker's one of the best, the middle linebacker.
Keep your eye on left tackle Marcus Cannon. He's a big body, but he's got him covered up. Does a great job of sustaining his blocks. That's what makes TCU so good, is they cover guys up and keep them covered up.
Bart Johnson, the motion man on 2nd down 8. Handoff, here comes James off the left side. A power back, 5'8". Low pads, goes 203, and Aaron, he's averaged over nearly 6.5 yards a carry. And this guy does not stand back from laying some, well, he likes to lay the wood on you.
Keep your eye on the combination blocking, doing a great job out that front side of being able to get out the edge. The zone blocking schemes at TCU are swallowing up this very stout, typically Utah defense. I expect to see the ground game going, but you got to watch the play action anytime it's TCU as Dalton changes the play again.
Yeah, 3rd down and 2 from the eye. Little shift up front by the Utes. They hand it off. There is contact and second effort, maybe. We'll give TCU the 1st down, and from our spot on the field, it's at the 34, and that's enough to move the chains.
Well, that's offensive line. Take a look at those numbers. The average squat, 671 pounds, benching 506 pounds. No, pieces, baby, pieces, pounds. 423 hang clean. And you want to talk about whether or not TCU can compete with other teams in the country. When you're that strong and physical up front, you can play with anybody.
Yeah, Cannon, Dooley, Kirkpatrick, Vernon, Roth. That is a big front line physical. Fresh downs in the pocket. Dalton pressured, runs out of a tackle, lowers the pads, knocked down at the 39-yard line. And now flags, multiple flags are tossed. Matt Martinez with the tackle, and you wonder if that wasn't a late hit or a face mask.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. On the defense, number 77. 15-yard penalty, the down and 10, 2nd down.
That's Spencer Thompson, the left guard.
Well, running downfield, you got to be able to give him credit for trying to keep guys off your quarterback. I made a living in the NFL trying to do that, but the refs calling that one a little bit tighter. But anytime you get big bodies downfield trying to peel guys off, you're better off for it.
Well, 2nd down, ball marked back at the 25-yard line. Shotgun, delayed draw. Up the gut comes James. And let's go back. Adam Zucker in our studios. Adam. All right, thank you, Adam. And make sure we will tune in halftime for more in-depth coverage of that Heisman Watch presented by Nissan. Coach Phil Fulmer will be there. Brian Jones, Denard Robinson's in the mix. Justin Blackman, and of course Cam Newton, quarterback of the Auburn Tigers. Blitz picked up. Out of the shotgun is Dalton. TCU set to punt. Shaky Smithson underneath it, 24-yard line. Heads to the outside, cuts back and dropped at the 35. Special teams tackled by Mr. Cuba. We'll be back after this.
To go out and play in front of big crowds, it just makes it exciting and so much fun.
You know, just going there and playing the best game in the world, there's nothing better than that.
Nothing like a football Saturday. Aaron Taylor, you played mini Notre Dame, South Bend.
Yeah, buddy, there was nothing like putting on those mustard slacks and that sport coat from JCPenney Big and Tall, going to Mass and walking to the stadium.
2:40 on the clock. Utah will start this drive at the 35-yard line. Eddie wide at the running back position, and there is a stack up of black and white, maybe a yard. And the clock rolls on. So far, TCU pitching a shutout.
Yeah, Craig, at this point, I think Utah, even though there's a little bit of time on this clock, they able to score lots of points on the season, 45. So this offense is explosive. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Utah get something generated in the last bit of this first half.
It's 2nd down and 8. Wynn slingshots and incomplete off the hands of Shaky. A ball behind him. And 3rd down, stops the clock with 2:02 to play in this first half.
Well, typically Jordan Wynn's a pretty accurate passer, but that one clearly behind Shaky Smithson. And you see the frustration of these offensive players for Utah, who ran into a buzzsaw. But again, Bryant Johnson, the former great Utah great, has his hands full, but his experience as a player will help Jordan Wynn at halftime.
2 of 7 for Utah on 3rd down. Little shovel pass. Whittingham trying all he can to get this Utah offense up and running. Eddie wide will be short. You know, get back to Bryant Johnson. You made the mention. He was a terrific quarterback in his day. And Kyle Whittingham told us Bryant Johnson, one day sooner than later, is so talented at what he does, he expects him to land an offensive coordinator position somewhere sooner than later.
And they knew it his redshirt freshman year. He traveled with the team, but he was so smart and would tell the quarterbacks on the sideline, keeping scripts of plays, that his ability to be able to understand the offense has started very early in his career here in Salt Lake.
And the 5th punt of the half for Sean Selwood. TCU's just going to let this one fall, and it takes a Utah bounce inside the 25, and it'll be touched down at the 22-yard line. 1:07 to play down the stretch. First half in Salt Lake. .107 to play in this first half in Salt Lake City. TCU has owned the first 2 quarters on a 23-0 lead.
We talked at the beginning of the game on our Scion matchup that controlling the line of scrimmage was going to make a difference in this ball game, and so far TCU's defensive line has gotten the better of a very senior, physical, experienced offensive line. You see Wayne Daniels there with the sack and the forced fumble. TCU's controlling things up front for Kyle Whittingham and his defense. They need to be able to create some turnovers to get the ball back for their offense. It's been struggling.
Matthew Tucker in the backfield, handoff, plows his way for 4 past the 25. Chapman, who we have called all afternoon, in on another tackle. So the cornerbacks have had to come up with run support. And under a minute to play. It's been all TCU. They've mixed it up with the short pass, the long ball, and also that wild frog with Curley throwing a touchdown to Bart Johnson.
It's tremendous execution, Craig. TCU has been on point so far in this first half.
Andy Dalton, mistake-free. Again, the handoff, Tucker off the right side, pushes the pile near the 30. And Chaz Walker was the first man to make contact. Walker out of Farmington, Utah. And we're running under 10 seconds, and TCU is heading to the locker room. Utah's got plenty to talk about, Aaron. Plenty to talk about.
Well, in a situation like this, and I've never been in a ball game where we got this dominated this early in a ball game, you have to at some point forget about what's at stake, forget about maybe what is or isn't going to happen, and you just have to go out and play for pride. This Utah team is very proud. They're very talented, and make no mistake about it, they definitely have the offensive weaponry to get themselves back in this ball game. As dominant as TCU was, 3 scores can get this thing done and get Utah right back in it.
First time this season you just saw being shut out in the first half. Let's go downstairs, and Brooks standing by with the head coach at TCU, Gary Patterson.
Coach, trick plays, 93-yard touchdown run. Nothing conservative about that first half. Do you continue to play that aggressively in the second?
Well, I think you do. Just like I said, coming into the ball game, you got to take the ball game when you go to somebody else's house. These guys are a good football team, so we got to play another 30 minutes.
Your defense really rattling their young QB. Do you continue to apply that pressure in the second?
Well, we have to. I think, they get the ball to start the second half, and so if we can score 23, they can score 23, so we got to get ready to play.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet.
Craig.
It is TCU by 23, and after the break, we'll send you to New York, where Adam Zucker, Brian Jones, and the coach, Coach Fulmer, are standing by with the Verizon halftime report. TCU dominates Utah in the half, up by 23. As we get started here in the second half, TCU owns a 23-point lead on Utah. Let's go back. Brooks down on the field with head coach Kyle Whittingham of Utah.
Thanks, Craig. Coach, just relentless pressure on your young quarterback. What did you say to Jordan Wynn at halftime?
Yeah, we just got to keep his head up. We got to give him a little better protection. We haven't been able to get much going in the run game, but we had a rough first quarter. Gave up a couple deep balls, turned the ball over once, and that was it. That dug us the hole. But we played well in the second quarter relative to the first quarter. We got the ball. We got to get a drive here. If we can get something on the board in this first drive, it's game on.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Back to you, Craig and Aaron.
All right, thank you, Brooke. Craig Bullerjack with Aaron Taylor. Just want to go back to a conversation we had with Coach Whittingham yesterday. He said that his quarterback, Jordan Wynn, has a short memory. He needs one right now, and he needs to restart the motor here in the third.
There's no question, and it always seems to be baptism by fire for Jordan Wynn against this TCU defense, but you're absolutely right. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. This offense has the ability to be able to strike quickly. Jordan Wynn's going to have that short-term memory, keep his eyes up during pass plays and not worry about the pressure, and distribute to the football to his playmakers.
Now, Utah, as you heard, of course, won the toss to start this game, deferred. They wanted the football to start the third quarter. They've got it, down by 23. And the third quarter's underway here in Salt Lake City. Good deep kick. Shaky Smith is going to bring it out. Takes it straight up the field, little stutter step, has a room, and still on his feet. Shaky, shaken out of tackles, still on his feet to the 46-yard line. Malcolm Williams made the special teams tackle, and that's what Shaky Smithson is all about.
Well, if you wonder how he got his name, you need to look no further than this play. He's such an explosive playmaker. He uses his eyes to be able to have a feel for where the defenders are. Lots of missed tackles on that play by the TCU coverage teams. That is the exact type of play that Utah needed to get them jump-started in the second half.
Today's 1st and 10 line is brought to you by Allstate. And the Utes now with something cooking to start the third quarter, down by 23. They start this drive at the 45-yard line. Ball is out of the hands and incomplete. Devontae Christopher has had some troubles putting the hooks on the football.
Well, the story of the first half was simply about execution. Utah, just like we saw in that last play, dropped balls, missed tackles, turned the football over, didn't do the things that they needed to do. They have to be able to get some sort of momentum going, because right now Utah's hurting themselves almost more than TCU is.
And those first half stats reeled in by Bass Pro Shops. As you see, the best starting position for Utah this afternoon. Second down, 10 from the 45. Good protection to try to slip a screen. And right now, not a good connection going with Christopher and Shaky Smithson as Wynn short arms that ball. Incomplete, third down and 10.
Pretty good by Jordan Wynn of hanging in there in the pocket with pressure in his face. He backs up a little bit and throws off his back foot, but he doesn't take his eyes from off downfield, but he's not very accurate when he's feeling pressure, as we saw in that last play, bringing up a 3rd and 10.
Yeah, Utah's had trouble moving the chains. They're 2 of 8 on third down conversions. They need 10 to keep this drive alive. A terrific return by Shaky Smithson. Shotgun, Jordan Wynn. Pressure from the corner. Stands up in that pocket. Took a hit. Picked. It's picked off. Tanner Brock has a clear route to the end zone. Inside the 5. John Cullen, the left tackle, made the tackle. But the pressure came from Wayne Daniels off the right side, and Brock nearly found the end zone.
Well, Stanley Maponga on the other side, and Wayne Daniels bringing the heat and the pressure, does a good job of being able to beat his defender. Jordan Wynn does a good job of staying in there, but because of the pressure, it forces him to throw a ball that was ill-advised, and that's a huge turnover and opportunity for TCU. That crushed Utah.
Second giveaway by Utah this afternoon. As you remember, Kyle Whittingham said the importance was to take this opening drive and punch one in. Outside and walking in for a touchdown. My goodness, Wesley untouched. And TCU with a PAT to come can open up a 30-point lead on the road.
Well, we talked about having that short-term memory, and Kyle Whittingham's going to have his hands full to be able to keep the morale of this team up. Utah with a costly mistake that started with pressure. You have to be able to protect the quarterback, especially against TCU, but we're seeing why the Horned Frogs are #1 in the country.
Extra point. Up and splits the uprights. So instead of Utah finding the end zone, TCU to pick. Brock, 64-yard return. Wesley runs it in. And high above Rice-Eccles Stadium, TCU on the road, a stunning 30-point lead on Utah. And with the help of Home Depot, let's take a look at the tools for success.
Well, when you run the football effectively, you can use play action. Let's take a look at that touchdown play. Brian Blecken bites on the play action, allowing Bart Johnson with Jeremy Curley at quarterback. They're expecting the run, so not only does TCU call a play that they rarely run, they execute it flawlessly with a great throw, giving Curley and the Utes, and TCU a great touchdown. Play action pass big for the Frogs.
Shaky's missing, 7 yards deep, and decides to take a knee. Smart move. Utah will have it at the 20-yard line. And a big hill to climb. #3 against -- and the 3rd-ranked Horned Frogs have dominated. Look at the points. This is a good Utah defense. On the season, 14 points allowed. They have more. TCU has more than doubled that total with 30 today.
Well, this TCU team is legit, and there's no question with Utah's defense being ranked #6 and coming into this ball game and only allowing 14 points a game. The TCU, because of their execution and because of their physical offensive line and because of Andy Dalton's incredible accuracy and ability to be able to throw on the run, they put themselves in a great position here early in the second half.
Utah starts this drive, their second here of the second half, from the 20-yard line. Slingshot it. There's a pitch and a catch, and the ball is out. My goodness! Devontae. Jason Teague punched that ball away, and TCU will get it right back. Well, you see the courage on the back of Jordan Wynn. Utah needs a truckload of courage here in the second half.
There's no question. Just great job by Jordan Wynn getting the ball out, but Ebiloye's right there. Jason T comes back and punches the ball out, and a great heads-up job by Alex Ebiloye recovering the fumble. This is something that Utah did such a good job last week against Air Force, but that's their 3rd turnover today. TCU's defense is dominating.
You know, I was thinking exactly the same thing. They saved that game at Air Force last week, punching away 2 balls, forcing 5 Falcon turnovers. Oh my, this crowd is stunned. TCU with a 30-point lead, back on the attack. Wesley on the run, and is popped and dropped at about the 27. He's close to a first down, a gain of 9.
Well, this is just a good job being heads up right here. Chapman, the outside's going to come on the corner fire, but the tight end does a good job of picking him up on the blitz. They tried that same run blitz with the Cowboy, the corner fire earlier, that worked. There, the tight end makes the block, and the result is good.
Now Wesley limped off the field and replaced by Matthew Tucker, number 29. He is upended. Ball is out! What a hit! Utah in business at the 29. And the freshman, Brian Blecken, laid the hammer.
Well, you see the name on the back of his jersey, and that's honor, and that's the way this team is playing right now. Brian Blecken, who in high school last year was getting ready for the senior prom, taking snaps underneath the quarterback, fills from that strong safety position, hits the back before he's aware of it and ready for it, causing a huge turnover. That's the exact type of momentum-changing play that this Utah team needed. Brian Blecken saves his best when it's needed most.
Down by 30, Utah at the 29-yard line. They stay on the ground, and probably the finest run of the afternoon. A first down, move the chains in the crowd. Some have departed, but those who remain give a cheer as T.J. Johnson with the tackle.
Well, there's no quit in this Utah U team as they go to the hurry up. How do these teams handle sudden change? Can TCU's defense, who's feeling pretty good about themselves, hold?
Eddie White just ripped off 11 yards. Wynn's going to tuck and run, and he is covered up in a hurry. A yard to the 43. Was a weak side backer and the middle linebacker. They fill a hole quick. I mean, TCU is quick off the ball.
Well, there's no question, Craig, and the reason why is their recognition. They're very well coached. I had the opportunity to sit into their video test last night with Gary Patterson. We watched 105 offensive plays from Utah where each defensive player talked about what it was that they were expect and what their job responsibility was. Very impressive.
Boyayi, the tight end, goes in motion. Two backs are Asiata and Wide. Horned Frog Show blitz on the corner. Hand off with a Panther pop, and TCU lays the hit, led by Tanner Brock. And yards are tough to come by right now, but Wide did have the pickup of 11. It'll be 3rd down and 4.
Well, this is a convertible 3rd down for Utah, and again, they have the offensive weaponry to be able to convert these. TCU among the best in the country, only allowing 1 out of every 4 third downs to be converted. But Utah does a pretty good job of it themselves. They need this, Craig, to be able to sustain this drive as the officials throw the flag.
You know, Utah had trouble with personnel.
Illegal substitution on the offense, breaking the huddle with 12 players.
Yeah, they broke with Asiata and Wide, and Asiata tried to run off the field, but the official, Johnny, on the spot and threw the flag.
He must have been eating his carrots because his eyesight was pretty good on that one. But that's a critical mistake, and again, comes down to execution. Particularly when you're at home and you have the crowd on your side, you should eliminate some of those mistakes. And prior to that penalty, Utah had been pretty mistake-free. Now a 3rd and 9 is much harder to convert than that play they were looking at before that penalty.
Yeah, they had 3rd and 4. Now they're really backed up. Jordan Wynn, gone exclusively from the shotgun, sets up, fires in traffic. Was that ball trapped? Incomplete the call. The crowd voicing their disapproval. Shaky Smithson had to go down low, and on the back was Jason Teague.
Jason Teague, the senior, originally signed with LSU. As you see the ball come in, had very tight coverage, going, making a play for the ball, and clearly hits the ground before it bounces into Smithson's hand, who was, let's call it, optimistic.
And the 6th punt now for Sean Selwood. He's been busy, probably the busiest Ute of all. Back inside his own 30-yard line. Good boot. Curley will take the fair catch at the 24-yard line. TCU will have the ball when we come back to Salt Lake City.
The score is TCU 30, Utah 0 here in Salt Lake City. This is the 3rd annual blackout game for the University of Utah. Last year at Wyoming, the year before, yes, versus Utah. Well, so it seems TCU heard about this, decided to counteract. The Horned Frog faithful decided to have a whiteout of their own. 1,000 white shirts to combat the Ute fans. Utah 2-0 in their previous blackouts in Salt Lake. Doesn't look like that might happen today. By the way, this small sliver of white fans having the time of their lives today, guys.
Oh, indeed. With a 30-point lead, and they're back on offense. Andy Dalton and company will start at their own 24-yard line. Wayman James alongside the 3rd-string tailback. He follows the pile, push to the 31. Christian Cox with the tackle. You know, Ed Wesley, their banger, their sophomore, who averages over 104 yards a game, they're looking at his right ankle. They've taped it tight, and we should see him back again.
You see a good job by the Utah defenders wrapping up his ankle as he got hit. Sometimes that puts torque on the ankle, but you see it getting wrapped up there. Those trainers take good care of him, and we expect to see him back in the game a little bit later on.
James in the backfield. Little pitch to Curley, and oh my goodness. You don't think Utah can hit you? Right in the mouth.
I tell you what.
Taplin Ross, the free safety. Listen to this pop.
That's a play they see every day in practice. Literally, TCU and Utah run very similar offenses with those bubble screens out to the outside. Good job by that Utah defense of recognizing, bringing up a 3rd and short. They got to find a way, Craig, to bow their back and get this ball back.
They bring the fullback in, Luke Shivers. Play action on the rollout, right on the button. Logan Brock, the tight end. So just when you've stacked the box, you go play action and boot one out to the tight end and pick up 24.
That's Logan Brock, who's Tanner's brother. He's the older brother of linebacker Tanner Brock. But you want to talk about ball security. Brian Blecken doing a good job of trying to punch that ball out. But TCU's defenders are able to hold on to it. That's great ball security by the Horned Frogs.
Aaron, that is part of football practice every day, the punch drill. You're always trying to strip it.
Both of these teams do a pretty good job of it, but TCU getting the better of it early on.
And the Horned Frogs are marching down the field, slow but sure, as the clock rolls up on nearly 9 minutes of play in the 3rd quarter, and TCU wants a timeout. Andy Dalton didn't like what he was looking at across the line and heads to the sideline. We'll take a break. Back in Salt Lake City, TCU with a 30-point lead on Utah. A surprise 30-point advantage as you look at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Now, this stadium was remodeled and reopened back in 1998. Over 45,000 the capacity, and it was remodeled and reopened to host the 2002 Winter Olympics opening and closing ceremonies. And it's been well received. New press box, by the way, Aaron Taylor, which I think you enjoy quite a bit.
There's no question. It's very, very nice. Big enough that you could probably have a scrimmage and play this game upstairs, I'll tell you what.
How about the attendance today? We knew it'd be wall-to-wall, standing room only. 46,000 and change to watch Utah take on TCU. A game that has BCS implications. How the standings will finally work themselves out. Quick throw, Dalton to the far sideline, and for the first time, Antoine Hicks makes a grab, and Brandon Burton with the tackle. That's the 10th catch of the year for Hicks, a junior out of Arlington, Texas.
They don't use him very much, and usually the aggressive Utah defense had a soft corner on that one. Andy Dalton was eating sandwiches back there, had a lot of time to throw, and it was just a simple out route that was right on the money, bringing up exactly what you want, which is a 3rd and short.
Yeah, Dalton has had a lot of time to throw the football. He's in the shotgun formation on 2nd down and short. Handoff. Wayman James weaves his way past the 30, 1st down. And Justin Taplin Ross with the tackle. Let's go downstairs and check in with Brooke.
Just a slight injury update. Ed Wesley came over to the training table. He was pointing to his right ankle. They took his shoe off, said it was a twisted ankle, got it all taped up, jumped off the training table. There was a slight grimace, but word is he'll be back on the field soon.
All right, thank you, Brooke. And you know what, Aaron, I don't know if Gary Patterson wants to go back to Wesley in a game where you have a 30-point lead and you got a guy like Matthew Tucker and Wayman James. And James gets the call, and right off the right side.
They make you defend every square inch of the football field and do it very quickly.
Up top, right on stride, but through the hands of Jimmy Young. About a half a step in front of Young, number 88.
TCU was trying to hit Jimmy Young on a vertical route, but that offensive line doing a good job of giving them a little bit of time to be able to throw the football on that skinny post, and Young wasn't able to put his big mitts around it. Dalton had a lot of mustard on that one. Typically in ball games, Andy Dalton likes to put some heat on his footballs. As the game goes on, he calms down, but that one had a lot of juice on it.
Only his third incompletion of this game. Third down from the Utah 27-yard line. Dalton again, terrific protection. To the flat he goes. And that's really nothing too difficult. It's called pitch and catch. You pitch, you catch, and you pick up big yards. And Matthew Tucker moves the chains. First down, TCU. And today's Red Zone is being brought to you by Verizon.
Well, Craig, what allowed that last play to go is Lamar Chapman. They brought a corner fire off the backside, but left tackle Marcus Cannon was able to come off of him, giving Andy Dalton plenty of time to be able to pitch and catch. Good job by this offensive line for TCU taking control.
Well, Wesley is back in the I formation. He'll get the handoff after the retape, takes a shot and rolls his pads to the 10-yard line. You know, that's been the key to this game, Aaron, is first down. It's been attack, and TCU has had their way with big yards, and that sets up a defense so much problems when you're looking at 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 1, and that's been the case for Utah all day.
Yeah, you want to be proactive versus reactive as a defense, and Utah's had to be very reactive today as we see TCU lined up in the pistol formation.
Handoff, Wesley tripped up, lost a yard, back to the 1. 6 of 9 on third down conversions for TCU. Dalton to the end zone. Did he have possession? Touchdown! Jimmy Young bobbled, got the feet down, and TCU running away from Utah.
TCU going back to the isolation of Jimmy Young, trying to run the vertical routes. Great job of doing a double move. You see him from the #1 position and then gets vertical, gets behind the linebacker. Chaz Walker does a good job of baiting him into thinking he's going to throw it underneath. TCU at this point almost seems to score at will.
Extra point. Good hold, kick, splits the uprights, and a 37-point lead for TCU. It's been an Andy Dalton kind of day. Touchdowns to Bruce, not once but twice, and now he finds Jimmy Young. Take a look now at the Travelers Insurance game highlights. And Aaron, the highlights, they're all Horned Frogs.
Well, they started early and continued throughout the game. Andy Dalton doing a great job of throwing on the run. One of the things he's so good at, missed tackles, cost this Utah defense big. But the story of this game has merely been execution. TCU's flat out executed, and Utah hasn't. They've shot themselves in the foot. TCU's taken advantage of it and done about everything they can from an execution standpoint, putting themselves up by 37 points, huge on the road.
One big bounce, shaky, 3 yards deep. Down he comes at the 10, stutter step, 15, flags are down. And Shaky has stood up and dropped at the 14-yard line, but a flag back inside the 15.
Third return. Illegal block in the back. Receiving team, number 8. Half the distance to the goal from the spot of the foul. First down, Utah.
So Utah, Aaron, has to start this drive deeper than they would like. But you look at the series, the last 4 games decided by a combined 26. The last 2, well, it's been all TCU.
Yeah, and TCU's never won here in Salt Lake and Rice-Eccles, and it's pretty clear they came to play today.
Well, Utes have won 21 in a row at home. That is the 3rd longest active streak in college football. The Sooners of Oklahoma 35. Boise State, the Broncos have won 29 in a row, followed by Utah. That looks to be ending here today in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, and another streak for TCU. They've won 9 straight on the road, looking to make it 10 this afternoon.
Jordan Wynn stays the quarterback for Utah. Little stop and go. Asiata found a seam to the 16.
Great job up front by Utah, showing their capability to be able to run the football. This is something that we expected to see more of throughout the game. Just good job on this left side of this offensive line, hitting the cutback circling that TCU defense, getting them to overcommit, using your eyes and moving the chains.
You know, this team runs for nearly 200 yards a game. They've been held at 21 today. I mean, put that in perspective. A 200-yard per game offense on the ground today, 21.
Well, we saw it for plays like that last one. Alex Ibiloye coming up. They run that exact same play 2 times in a row. It's just a straight inside zone. The running back cut back, but this time the weak safety filled that spot. They did get the first down, but TCU does a very good job. And Dick Bumpus, the co-defensive coordinator, was a D-line coach at Notre Dame when I was there, just done an excellent job with this unit.
Low snap, handled by Wynn, steps up, throws, and about 5 yards over the shoulder of Luke Matthews. Jason Teague, the cover man.
We're looking at Dick Bumpus. He and Gary Patterson go way back. They've been together at 5 different schools. They're 100% aligned in their defensive philosophy. They keep things simple. They love the 4-2-5. Basically, their base defense has 5 defensive backs basically playing nickel, but they can stop the run with it, and these two have done an excellent job. #1 defense the last 2 years in a row.
Wynn slingshots it near side. It's caught and pulled down. Asiata. And he is knocked down to the 19-yard line. Ibiloye. Well, he's had a heck of a ball game. #9, he's a grad student out of Garland, Texas. Brock and Carter also the linebacking core. Really, that's that. You know, the first line of defense, obviously your front line, but when you got linebackers and a weak safety who can come up and fill the gap, you got to feel pretty confident when you're an up front guy.
Well, that's a perfect example of what we're talking about, that 4-2-5. The weak safety position's a hybrid position. He plays the run like a linebacker but can cover like a receiver.
Went over the middle, incomplete, right off the hands of Shaky Smithson. And boy, nothing going right for Utah. That brings up 4th down. Well, today's key matchups. We talked about turnovers would be a major factor in the outcome of this game. Utah has given it away 3 times. TCU has survived with just the 1. Control the line of scrimmage. TCU 9 hurries and a sack, and they've outrushed Utah 98-31. Also, 3rd down success has been another big key.
They've been able to convert because of their success on 1st down. Is why TCU's had such success on 3rd down.
Selwood for the 7th time the punt, and TCU will start at near midfield. Boy, Utah fans, kind of a bummer day in Salt Lake City. Well, that's a great look at downtown Salt Lake City, and beyond that was the Great Salt Lake, and now you zoom in and take a look at Rice-Eccles Stadium. TCU dominating 37-0. The BCS standings brought to you by Ram Trucks. This game will mix things up.
Yeah, there's no question. If assuming that Utah loses this game, keep your eye on #6 Alabama, the best 1-loss record team. They play Mississippi State, that's ranked 20th. They would go into Auburn if they're undefeated, and if they beat a #1 and win out, I'm telling you what, Alabama's a team to watch. They could somehow find their way in one of those top 2 spots before the year's over.
How about this? Utah has not been shut out since 1967. Let me do the math. That's 45 years.
You're pretty fast,
Aaron
buddy.
Taylor.
You're pretty dang good now.
Heading down the stretch here in the 3rd quarter. Wayman James in the backfield. Andy Dalton's gone the distance, and James takes a couple of Utes with him to the 48-yard line. Brandon Burton with the tackle. It's been all TCU. They hit early and often in the 1st quarter. A couple of touchdown throws from Dalton to Josh Boyce. And boy, from that point on, this crowd, it's a blackout day, just had nothing to cheer about. They have not been in this game. They hope to maybe have a rally to start the 3rd quarter. Utah turned it over, and TCU put 6 more on the board.
Yeah, there's no question that every time Utah made a mistake, TCU was able to capitalize, and they've just flat out executed. You see Andy Dalton changing the play again based on what he sees defensively.
Dalton stands up in the pocket, got a man, and a catch. Was he in bounds? Jimmy Young. They will say complete at the 25-yard line. That ball hung a bit, 23 yards, but Young was able to hang on.
You live by the blitz, you die by the blitz. They brought some weak side pressure there, putting Jimmy Young one-on-one with Brian Blecken on the corner route. Does a good job. The ball's thrown inside and behind him, but great body control in the air to be able to go up and get that football and hang on to it.
Now Jimmy Young, also a grad student. He ranks top 10 in all-time receptions at TCU. Sure-handed receiver, not much, as Wayman James is bottled up at the 24-yard line. Well, Dalton, near perfect football game.
He's been on fire today, making the right reads, getting in his offense in position. We talked about the beginning of the game, how good of a game manager he was. He's the one that's put the ball in his playmakers' hands and allowing them to be successful, doing a great job of connecting, pitching, and catching, and not making mistakes. Look at those numbers. Outstanding by the four-year starter.
That's nearly double the amount that Utah allows on the season once more. And he throws incomplete. Dalton, by the way, has shared the wealth. He has gone to 9 different receivers or backs in this football game.
And that's what good quarterbacks do. They spread the wealth. They play well with others, and Andy Dalton isn't a selfish quarterback. And this team isn't a selfish team. Gary Patterson and this coaching staff won't allow it, and I think we're starting to see the fruits of that, because when you can lose and Ed Wesley and other guys step up, that's truly playing as a team, and Andy Dalton personifies that.
70% on third down conversions today, 7 of 10. They need 9 yards to move the chains. It's 3rd and 9 at the 24 of Utah, and now a timeout. Dalton had trouble, I think, communicating the change up front, so he burns a timeout.
TCU, their second of the half. 30-second timeout.
It's a 30-second timeout. TCU with 1 timeout remaining. Utah with all 3 here in the second half. And the Utes and Horned Frogs will huddle up. Well, let's check out our Sonic Drive and Quality Drive of the game. It's new, it's better, it's the new Sonic Good.
And that's off the play action. Andy Dalton turning his back to the defense, but Logan Brock does a good job of holding on to the football. They just continued to march the ball down the field, seemingly scoring at will until Jimmy Young, with the double move, one-on-one with the linebackers, able to get behind Chaz Walker for the touchdown.
Well, the Quality Drive went 11 plays, 76 yards, just over 5.5 minutes. And the result, a touchdown, now a 37-point lead for TCU. Dalton wanted a man to go in motion, and you know what? Sometimes you have a brain freeze.
I've had about 10 of them in this game. It happens to all of us.
And so he called timeout. 3rd down and 9. He's changing things up again as he reads the secondary of Utah.
Been very effective doing this today, Craig.
Calls for the snap from the shotgun. He's been protected all day. Man coverage on the outside. And that ball is delivered where it has to be, on his outside shoulder. And Jimmy Young with another catch, hit and knocked down by Conroy Black.
Great job of executing there. First, starting with the offensive line. Utah blitzed there, brought 5. It was picked up perfectly. Andy Dalton trusted his protection and delivered the football to Young perfectly. Those big boys. Big, tough, strong offensive and defensive lines, Craig. In my judgment, that's what's allowed these non-automatic qualifiers to be able to compete with the best teams in the country.
Red zone today, 2 for 2 is TCU. They got fresh downs, handoff off the right side, second effort. And Matthew Tucker, boy, the motor runs hot. He motors down to around the 8, call it the 7-yard line. And Matt Martinez, along with Blecken, with the tackle. Yeah, how do you like to feed that front line of TCU, or even the front line of Utah? These big guys, Cannon goes 350, Dooley 315, Kirkpatrick, the center, is 305. Vernon's a small guy, by the way. The right guard goes 300.
Yeah, they've never met a cheeseburger that they didn't like. But for being as big as they are, I've been really impressed with how athletic they are as well.
Very quick off the ball. They go in motion with Sky Dawson. Up the middle to the 6. And that will bring up a 4th down for TCU. Salinga with the tackle. Got some help from Blecken. And the quarter is winding down. 15 minutes to play. And TCU has owned Utah on their home field. 37-0 on the CBS College Sports Network. Minutes to play in this one as we break it down quarter by quarter. And TCU struck and struck often in that opening 15 minutes of play. They put 20 on the board, and you know what? Utah has not recovered.
Yeah, they haven't. They've been getting Antoine Hicks involved here. Watch him in the end zone.
Dalton, protection. It breaks down on the run. He's got room. Slingshots it to the end zone, and over the top, it's incomplete. Now, Bart Johnson wanted a flag, but Utah, good coverage. And Christian Cox bringing heat on Andy Dalton. That's really the first time or second time today that Utah's front's been able to get in the backfield at TCU.
And surprise, surprise, you get pressure on the quarterback, good things happen. Utah's inability to be able to do that all afternoon long is why they haven't been as successful as they want to be. A defensive back's best friend is a good pass rush. TCU's defensive line's been helping their guys out. Utah comes up big time for their squad on that last
one. 24-yard kick by Ross Evans. Hit one in the second quarter and boots one through here in the fourth. And it's a 40-point lead for TCU. Aaron, time for our Macy's stat comparison. And Andy Dalton, well, 08. It was 16 of 37 today, 19 of 23. The yards outstanding. He's working on 350 plus.
Well, he was a much younger player then and probably a lot like Jordan Wynn is, but you look at the comparisons, the big difference as I see it isn't the fact that he was under 50% back then, but it was the 2 interceptions. He's been perfect today, Craig, distributing the football around the field, making Utah defend the entire field. The running game's been effective when called upon, and Andy Dalton has outmanaged this game against Jordan Wynn.
He's on the phone, and they're talking good things about the Horned Frogs. Kyle Whittingham, you know, he was so upbeat when we talked to him yesterday. He wanted to attack, Aaron, attack. He wanted to spread the field. He said Jordan Wynn has the entire package at his disposal today. I'm talking on the offensive side. And so far, Utah has just not found the end zone. And Shaky gave him the greatest field position, but yet unable to push it past midfield at the 45.
Yeah, and they turned that ball over, and they said they were going to keep this offense wide open. My guess is that this wasn't the necessary definition of wide open that they were looking for.
Smithson at the 2. Makes a cut, chopped down at the 24. They have contained one of the top kick returners in the country today, and Shaky Smithson. Well, making a splash on defense. How about yards allowed this season by TCU? You go all the way to the bottom. Now, they had 47 against Air Force. They shut down the Falcons 91 yards today against Utah with 14 minutes on the clock.
And look at some of those teams on there. Oregon State, Baylor with Robert Griffin, Wyoming, BYU, and SMU. I mean, that's a...
With June Jones spread? Wow.
It's impressive. These guys, whoever they played, have been dominant.
Utah back on the offensive side. They throw and they make the completion as Jordan Wynn goes up top. And the catch made by Devontae Christopher. Back and forth we go. Bama, LSU, and Death Valley. Ingram, the Heisman winner a year ago. Injured early this season, but boy, what a talent. So first down off the left side. Eddie Wide will move the chains for Utah, and that young man is done for the day. He's got the ankle wrapped up with ice. Ed Wesley. Wesley came in, as I mentioned, over 104 yards a game. And today he had 12 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown. He scored in the third quarter from 4 yards out to make it 30-0. First and 10 Utah. Asiata. Little stutter step to the 41. And Tank Carter and Tanner Brock. Again, the backers in on the tackle.
I'll tell you what, if that's any other running back there, that would have been stopped for no gain. But because it's Matt Asiata with that big 230-pound frame. We talked about his ability to fall forward. He ended up getting a couple yards on him.
Last week, 95 yards against Air Force on a career-high 23 carries and a touchdown. So this ground game has been curtailed today. Little shovel pass inside. Asiata breaks a tackle, puts the pads up, and battles his way to the 48-yard line. Ibiloye on the tackle for TCU.
Well, both of these teams run kind of a two-headed monster. When you compare the tandems, Wesley and Tucker 71 yards, Asiata and Wide 46. Both of these teams' run defenses doing a very good job of keeping their opponent well under their season averages.
Well, drives have been stopped right here most of the day. Utah 2 of 11 on third down conversions. They pick up a first. Watch out. Nearly breaking away for 6 was Asiata. And fresh downs at the 41-yard line. He rips off 12 yards. And brother Sean, Asiata with a nice block.
This is just that counter play that they like. There's a huge hole inside there, and TCU was very worried about that. They run two things inside very, very effectively where Matt Asiata is at his best. The power, and they counter with the counter, as we saw in that last one.
Well, Utah inside TCU territory with fresh downs at the 42-yard line. Clock hits the 12-minute mark, fourth quarter. Little play action, good protection over the top, right on the button. Moiai, the tight end, number 81. Boy, wide open. 22 yards, and Utah is knocking on the door.
That is a busted coverage by TCU. Keep an eye on Moiai right here. If he doesn't slip here, it's a touchdown. Ball's very good on the money, but Moiai can't keep his feet. Had he been able to, he would have hit his head on the goalpost. Missed opportunity there by Utah, and a broken coverage by TCU's defense.
Big target, 6'5", 240, makes his 9th catch of the season. The backfield is full of Asiatas. Play action, Jordan Wynn steps up, throws far side, makes the catch, second effort, close. Touchdown, Utah! Matt Asiata, the circus catch, second and third effort puts Utah in the end zone.
This is a tremendous job of coverage by TCU, but Matt Asiata on the play action sneaks out of the backfield a little bit late, running a semi-wheel route. He's dropped a couple balls today, had a couple drops last week, but makes the acrobatic one-handed catch. That is what you need, even though you're down by 34 points. Your playmakers have to make plays, and that was a huge one by the senior for Utah.
Extra point through the uprights, Utah. They sidestep the shutout. They have not been shut out since 1967. The catch, plowing in, Asiata. Well, you're looking at the muss. The mighty Utah student section finally was something to cheer about. Let's look at this last touchdown by Asiata. Look at his knee, right knee, 3-yard line.
Yeah, there's no question that his knee was down before the ball crossed the plane. You have to be able to take your hat off to him for making a great effort. The official was right there, was watching the ball, and merely missed his right knee that goes down right there. That ball falls a little short. Maybe that should have been reviewed.
Play stands, and no return for TCU. Win on that drive, by the way, 4 of 4 for 56 yards. To put Utah on the board for the first time today.
They were able to get themselves in rhythm, just like TCU's been able to do running the football. Wesley and Tucker, not overly impressive numbers, well below their rushing averages on the year, but you have to be able to credit that run defense for Utah. 14th in the country, allowing under 3 yards per carry. Granted, TCU's been able to light them up through the air, but when they've run it, the Utes have held.
Andy Dalton's gone the distance. Nearly 11 minutes left to play. Wayman James spins and works his way to the 23, 24-yard line. Boo Anderson out of Sandy, Utah. Chaz Walker also in on the tackle. TCU, Aaron, would like to do one thing, just let the clock run.
Yeah, there's no question. And keep your players healthy, get a win on the road, snatch it out of the jaws of a very talented football team, and handle your business and get one step closer to wherever it is they want to be in that pyramid that Gary Patterson so often talks about.
James stacked up. By the way, that was only the 3rd touchdown given by TCU in conference play this year.
Yeah, there's no question. We take a look at what an automatic BCS berth needs to look like for an automatic or non-automatic qualifier. They've got to finish in the top 12 of the standings or be top 16 and higher than a BCS conference champion. And with the way that the Big East and the ACC is playing, both Utah and TCU could probably qualify.
Option. Dalton, he rode James a bit, pulled the ball, tucked and ran it up to around the 28-yard line. Chaz Walker in on another tackle. Christian Cox, number 94, came by with some help. And Utah stands and stops the Horned Frogs, and TCU will punt.
Well, this is a good opportunity for Utah to be able to get the ball back, Craig. You talked about Wynn's efficiency. Well, it's no surprise that Wynn was a better quarterback because they got their running game going.
Short punt. Takes a right turn and a TCU bounce to the 21-yard line. A timeout in Salt Lake. 9:16 to play. Utah back on offense when we roll back. You have a great look at the snow-capped mountains, Wasatch Mountains here in Salt Lake City. Ski season not too far away here in this part of the country. How about the BCS Bowl Busters, Aaron? You go back to 05, the Fiesta Bowl. Utah knocked off Pitt in a big way, 35-7. Urban Meyer, the head coach. In 07, Fiesta Bowl, Boise State over the Sooners of Oklahoma. 2008 Sugar Bowl, Hawaii losing to the Bulldogs of Georgia. And then in 09, Utah Sugar Bowl knocked off Nick Saban in Alabama. And then a year ago, Boise State beat TCU 17-10 in the Fiesta Bowl. You know what? You can take away the Cinderella slipper story about TCU, Utah, Boise State. These guys have come together. They've got solid programs.
There's no question. Football's won and lost on the field, and they proved themselves repeatedly.
Jordan Wynn wants the deep ball. He's got man coverage. Downfield, that ball hung up finally, and it's picked off by Greg McCoy.
Well, in that film session last night, one of the things that Gary Patterson noticed in the tendencies of Jordan Wynn, when he throws the deep ball, which isn't very often, he has a tendency to underthrow it. He instructed his defensive backs that once that ball's in the air to turn around and make a play for the football because it'll likely be underheld. That goes to show you that right there, Greg McCoy not only listens to his coach, but executed perfectly, and that's another reason why this TCU Horned Frog defense is so effective.
And the 4th turnover of the day committed by the Utes. 2 picks, 2 fumbles lost. And Aaron, you bring out an interesting point about Utah and Jordan Wynn. 69% completion rate, but remember, most of those are underneath. They like to go man with linebackers. The deep ball many times is his biggest foe. Let's go back and check in. Here's Adam.
All right, thanks, Craig. You know, number 7 Nebraska, they just don't like playing Iowa State. They were up 24-10, but the Hawks, here they come, the Cyclones. It's getting windy. Austin Arnott, Alexander Robinson, they're tied. And Penn State, after trailing 21-0, up 35-21 now, trying to get Joe Pa win number 400 in Happy Valley.
Oh, my. They'll be partying in Happy Valley. Joe Pa, 400 career wins. That is monumental. TCU still taking it at Utah. And Jeremy Curley, you know, he's been curtailed much of the day, but just like that, he can pop off 28 yards, and they move the chains inside Utah territory now. Aaron at the 44-yard line.
He's such an explosive player and one of many playmakers for this TCU offensive team. They like him on the bubble screens. Earlier on in the year, he struggled with drops and his concentration wasn't maybe where it needs to be. but today he's played very, very well, averaging over 10 yards per catch. Of course, had that great touchdown catch earlier in the game.
They double stack 2 wideouts each side of the field. Throw a quick pass outside. Curley. And Curley rumbles inside the 40, 39-yard line, short of the first down. That brings up 3rd down. And Jeremy Curley, I tell you, we've been looking at 2 of the finest punt and kick returners, Curley and Jakey Smithson today. Both with speed, and boy, Curley just has that incredible breakaway ability.
No question, they use him just like Utah uses Jeremy Brooks, another 85, but he gives you that extra added wrinkle in that wild frog package, and man, he's the 2nd best quarterback this team may have.
Slingshots it in for a touchdown to Bart Johnson. That was late in the first quarter in that early 20-0 lead. Tucker, the back. Heads to the near sideline, couple of stiff arms, and finally chopped down to the 26.
These are great quality reps for this TCU running game, and Matthew Tucker with Ed Wesley out of the game. Very patient runner on that last play, trusted his offensive line. Gary Patterson has to feel good about the way his offense is producing, getting his players in.
And Aaron, a question I think a lot of people will ask in college football: if you run the score up against this team that came in ranked 5th in the BCS, how does that compare now when the computers go back, and do you lessen though the fact that Utah not as good as many thought, or does it help elevate your status?
No, I think it helps elevate your status. The computers obviously don't take in margin of victory, but there's nobody in the country watching this TCU team that shouldn't walk away impressed.
Welcome back to Salt Lake City, where, yes, TCU is leading Utah 40-7. Both Utah and TCU fans still remember the 2008 game, which was exactly 2 years ago. The Utes look back on it fondly. They won 13-10, but on the other side, it was said there wasn't a dry eye in the TCU locker room after the game. The loss affecting them deeply. There's a group of 25 of those young men who are here today. They were underclassmen then. They are leading this year's teams now. It is safe to say they still remember that feeling. It is fuel to their fire today, Craig.
All right, thank you, Brooke. 26-yard line, 1st and 10. Dalton absolutely near perfect. A career high in passing yards. And Paul Hall, Casey Paul Hall, the redshirt freshman recruited by Florida and Notre Dame, will get some snaps here down the stretch. He's 6'4", 208. Dalton goes 6'3", 220. So, you know, when you become a senior, I guarantee you, we talk about Casey Paul Hall, he's going to be in that 220, 225 range.
Yeah, there's no question, and that's the type of size that you want to be able to keep yourself durable. I said earlier minutes ago that Jeremy Curley was the 2nd best quarterback on this team, and that was no offense to Paul Hall. He's going to be a good one.
Robert Deck, number 87, is checked in, tight end. Right now, Gary Patterson getting a chance to throw a couple of guys who deserve some reps. A 40-7 lead, under 6 minutes to play. Paul Hall, the ball carrier, he takes a pop right on his number 4 by Matt Martinez. And maybe a yard up to the 21-yard line. Clock is under 6 minutes. And there'll be plenty of talk around college football, plenty of talk in Salt Lake City, plenty of talks from the critics about Utah, about how good this team actually is because of the schedule they play. You remember they knocked off Pitt in overtime to start the season. It was a very soft schedule up until last week against Air Force, and remaining on this schedule for Utah next week at Notre Dame, at San Diego State, then you finish up at home against Brigham Young.
Yeah, but you can also make the argument that they played against Iowa State and dominated them.
And look at that. The ball is fumbled and a touchdown. Wayman James, right place, right time. Paul Hall lost it. Utah overran the ball, and TCU finds the end zone again.
When it rains, it pours. The football gods are smiling brightly upon this TCU offense. You have a lot of your second string in there. Paul Hall mismanages the football, but a heads-up play by Dean, being at the right place in the right time, showing you exactly how to make hustle pay off.
So Wayman James, the redshirt freshman from Sherman, Texas, runs in his 4th touchdown of the year. The extra point is blocked, but it falls through. So up and in. And it's 47-7 with just under 5 minutes left to play. TCU has made a statement in Salt Lake City. Now there's an aerial view of the state capitol here in Salt Lake City. TCU 47-7. And pacing like he's down by 30 is Gary Patterson, his 10th year. He was at TCU before becoming head coach as a defensive coordinator. 94 wins along the way. And his defense, a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, no question. When you hold 13 of your last 20 FBS opponents since last season to below their season average in points, and 7-8 of this year, you're doing something well, and you're doing it consistently.
Smithson pushes the pile to the 29. The flag is back at the 19. Here's Land Clark.
Return, illegal block in the back. Receiving team, number 22. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Well, at this point in the ball game, Craig, you got to play for pride. You look around at your buddies, your seniors. A lot of your goals about winning the conference are likely diminished. BCS bowl game, maybe an at-large berth still on the table, depending on how far Utah drops in this game. But at some point, you got to look around at your buddies and say, hey, let's go out and finish this thing like we've been playing all year with pride.
Eddie White in the backfield. Jordan Wynn stays as quarterback. White stops and goes inside out. And TCU again with the tackle. Turnovers. Turnovers, one of the big stories for Utah.
Well, it started early on with that pass pressure, and then the pressure again forces Wynn into some bad situations. Then the old punch drill, Jason Teague popping one out, and then the underthrown deep ball, Greg McCoy doing just like he was coached the night before in the video test, turning around and making the play in the short ball.
Now we talked to Kyle Whittingham, Gary Patterson, both agree you cannot turn the ball over. 1, you may dodge a bullet. 4 will get you beat, and beat in a big way.
Well, Utah needs to look no further than their game last week against Air Force. It was a very tight ball game. Air Force gave Oklahoma all it could handle, and they needed 5 forced turnovers to be able to get out of there with the win. You just can't win turning the ball over. I don't care what sport it is.
How about points this season? I mean, this offense was rocking. 45 a game today, held to 7.
I mean, and this is a defense on the road now.
Right. This was labeled and hyped as the biggest football game in Utah State history. Batted down, incomplete.
Braylon Broughton getting some rush upfield and getting his hands on the football. He's a backup defensive end, plays behind Stanley Maponga. He's got him at the 3 technique position. It was going to be a screen, but he kept his hustle going and got upfield and was able to get them big, long arms of his up and forces Utah into another punt.
8th of the day by Sean Silverwood. Curley's going to give TCU 5 field position. That's a beautiful punt. Curley backpedals at the 37, and that's where the Horned Frogs will start. A 51-yard boot. Adam, how about that emotion? Les Miles has been under the heat off and on all season long for game management. Oh, baby, what a big one down in Death Valley.
But I tell you what, he's got an unbelievable knack to be able to have some pretty courageous play calling. Pistol offense.
Paul Hall, the handoff, and a stiff arm by Andre Dean, number 30, who gets a couple of reps here late. 21 carries, make it 22 on the season. And this guy just has the knack for big yards. How about 7 yards a carry? You know, Wesley's good for nearly 7. Tucker's good for 5. Wayman James is good for 6.5.
Yeah, TCU has 9 players that average over 4.5 yards per carry, and Andre Dean, former high school teammate of Andy Dalton, transferred into the program and has been a nice addition to a very deep group of running backs.
Clock under 3 minutes. Paul Hall stacked up, dropped for a couple of yards, loss. And you look at the BCS top 5, Aaron, in scoring offense and defense per game.
Well, what really jumps out at you there is what TCU's been able to do, under 9 points for their opponents. If there's a chink in the armor for the high-powered offenses of Oregon and Auburn, it's their defenses and the points that they allow. Oregon does a tremendous job, but they're going to be running into a buzzsaw. They have games against Cal and against Arizona, 2 top 21 defenses in the country. A lot can change. It's been a year where we've seen a lot of #1 falls. The movement may not happen yet, so TCU's national championship aspirations are still well alive.
Andre Dean knocked down after picking up a couple of yards. You know, you go back to 1988, Aaron. Auburn had an incredible defense. They allowed just 7.2 points a ball game. Now think about this. With still, what, 3 weeks of football to play? Actually 2 for TCU. They got San Diego State and at New Mexico. I mean, you got a chance to really do some damage and make a little history. And you get below that 7-point mark, my goodness.
Don't think for 1 second that Gary Patterson and Dick Buppas don't have their eyes on those numbers. This team is very well aware of where they're ranked, and they take it seriously.
Dean takes a pop, but he got the first down. Just past the 41-yard line.
I'll tell you what, you want to talk about style points and offensively. A lot of times you look at the scoreboard to see how many points a team scores, but I think with TCU, and you know, the cliche in football, cliches are cliches because they're true, that you win defense with championships. Look no further than the #1 total defense, the #1 pass defense at TCU, and what they've been able to do against a great defense offensively on both sides of the football. TCU brings it.
Dean goes outside. Utes give chase. Boy, they are still popping late in this ball game. The Utes come storming with Justin Taplin-Ross, the free safety. And he's got that free safety frame, about 215, 6'3", and he laid the hammer down. Final seconds ticking away. TCU, Aaron, will win their 23rd straight regular season game, and maybe the most impressive part, they're going to win their 10th straight on the road, and the 3rd longest home winning streak is going to come to an end. Utah had won 21 in a row, 3rd only to Oklahoma and Boise State.
And speaking of Oklahoma, remember TCU went into Norman and beat them, and they were the last team to beat them back in 2007. 23rd straight regular season win for this team, 2nd longest streak, 10 straight on the road.
That's amazing.
It's unbelievable how well coached and how disciplined, how physical and how athletic, and therefore how deserving this team is to compete for the national championship.
And our LG player of the game, Andy Dalton, hands down, 21-26, 355 yards passing against this Utah secondary. 3 touchdowns on the day, did not make a mistake.
He was absolutely exceptional. They knew coming in he had to be able to manage the ball game. He did that flawlessly and walks away with the win.
So a final of 47-7, highly anticipated. #3 against #5 here in Salt Lake City. But the Horned Frogs struck early with a couple of touchdowns to Josh Boyce, and TCU never looked back. Let's go to the field and hear.
Coach, you asked Andy Dalton, just manage the game. Safe to say he did it. What impressed you most about him today?
Well, this is what we've been preparing for, 4 or 5 years. He's been in these kind of games, and today he came through. He played unbelievable. It's what a senior quarterback's supposed to do in these kind of games.
I know you don't like saying it, but truly, this was such an important game. Is it almost a statement game today?
Well, it was. We felt like a year ago, anytime you play Utah, we felt and be able to come to their place, 21-game winning streak, beat them like we did. I'm very excited for my kids and my fans because, it's just a lot of fun to be out here and know what they accomplished.
Near perfect execution. Is there anything more gratifying for a coach?
No, except to go and win it again next week. We got 2 games left. We can't screw up. San Diego State's coming in with a chance to tie for the conference title. So we know we're going to have to emotionally get ready again.
Talk about preparation for next weekend's game.
Well, first off, we get home safe and see who's banged up. But they got 2 great wideouts. They got a great running back, and they play defense. The good thing is we get a chance to play it at home.
Enjoy the win. Go get some tea for that, okay?
I agree for you.
Thanks, Coach. Craig?
All right, thank you, Brooke. Yeah, Gary Patterson, he was yelling all day, but a victory yell, 47-7 on the road at Utah. You see Rice-Eccles Stadium clearing out in a hurry. TCU rolling over Utah this afternoon, 47-7. Let's go back downstairs. Brooke is standing by with TCU quarterback Andy Dalton.
Andy, Coach told us before the game, he just needed you to manage the game. You did. 350 yards passing, a career high for you. Where does this game rank personally for you?
You know, it was one of the best games that I've ever been a part of. You know, to see all the preparation that we did this week and to see it all pay off in the end was, you know, it feels really good.
Coach said to us, yeah, this was a bit of a statement game. Would you agree?
I would agree. You know, playing a great team, Utah. Utah's still a great team. You know, they ranked number 5 in the BCS. They wouldn't get there if they weren't good. So that was a statement game for us, and we came out and played really well.
So much hype for this matchup. People will be surprised when they see the final score. What do you say to them?
I mean, we came out and played our game. I thought we had to show a lot of people what we're capable of doing. I think we did that tonight.
Couple big games coming up. They're very important. How do you prepare?
You know, the same way we did this week. You know, go out, watch a lot of film, get ready for them.
You got a nice little group of fans up there in white. You gonna go say hello to them, celebrate a little?
I love it. You know, to see the following that we have here was unbelievable, and it was a great win for us.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
Thank you.
Craig.
All right, thank you, Brooke. 1,000 Horned Frog fans making the trip to Salt Lake City, all decked out in white. And they roll off with a 40-point win. They run their record now, TCU 10-0, 6-0 in the Mountain West Conference. And for the first time, Aaron, Utah loses a football game. They also lose for the first time in 21 games here at home.
Well, we talked about it in the open. They lost to a very good football team. And the team that walked away from this game victorious, Mountain West Conference Championship, BCS Conference Championship, that could include a Rose Bowl performance if Oregon finishes out, and certainly within striking distance of the national championship. And when you take a look at the top 10 of the BCS standings, Utah's certainly going to fall out. Alabama and Nebraska in a nail-biter, fighting for their lives right now, maybe opening the door for a 7-1 Oklahoma, maybe an 8-1 potential Pac-10 champ in Wisconsin. A lot of movement. Every single team last week in the BCS in the top 10 moved. We may be looking at similar movement this week. Bottom line is great TCU performance today.
Well, the final here in Salt Lake City, TCU a statement game, 47-7. For Brooke Olzendam, Aaron Taylor, our entire CBS College Sports Network crew, Craig Bolerjack saying so long. For scores, highlights, features, and more, go to CBSCollegeSports.com. And after the break, stay tuned. Inside College Football Live is coming up next. 47-7 TCU. This has been a presentation of the CBS College Sports Network.